Welcome back to the program. First and foremost, Citizen Vigilante is kicking ass. It is doing really well. A lot of people love that movie. It's definitely controversial, but it's a great movie. So I'm going to leave it up, but I'm going to put it over. I left it for an extra day and pinned it for an extra day so everyone got a chance to watch it. But I'm actually going to put it into the greatest hits section on the Substack. Okay, so everyone can still get to it, find it easily, and see it. In this segment, I want to talk about Neville Singham. Neville Singham is, I guess, the younger, more dangerous version of George Soros. Okay? And this guy is the one that was funding the riots in Los Angeles in 2025, funding the anti-ICE, brigades and all the other things going on in Portland and everything else. And the worst part is that he lives in China, number one. And number two, he constantly has the ability to get access to America because he's a CCP spy, basically. He's close to the Chinese Communist Party, and he's married to a code pink commie bitch, okay? But his days could be numbered because the Department of Justice has just launched a grand jury investigation into this far-left millionaire, probably billionaire actually, Neville Roy Singham, and his dark money machine funding of Marxist, Antifa, DSA, all the chaos, everything we're seeing, the printed signs, all done by this idiot. So let's see. According to Fox News, citing sources familiar with the matter, the grand jury is in the Southern District of New York, has already begun issuing subpoenas for bank records and financial documents. The investigation, authorized by acting U.S. Attorney General Todd Blanche, is examining potential wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and other financial crimes tied to the movement of roughly $278 to $285 million through Singham's elaborate dark money web scams and businesses since 2017. The grand jury follows a Fox News digital investigation published in mid-March documenting how Singham pumped $285 million from his base in Shanghai, China, into a Goldman Sachs philanthropy fund and two shell corporations that then fed that money into a constellation of non-profit organizations, media operations, and activist groups pushing sectarian division, identity politics, and support for communist and socialist politicians. The investigation is examining the movement of that money in Singham's financial network and attempting to determine if Singham, the organizations, and the ones that he funded and their leaders have committed wire fraud, bank fraud, money laundering, and other financial crimes, according to sources familiar with the matter. Prosecutors have presented evidence to this grand jury, which has issued subpoenas seeking bank records and other financial documents from organizations in Singham's network. Federal prosecutors use grand jury subpoenas as an investigative tool to compel the production of documents and testimony as they determine whether sufficient evidence exists to pursue criminal charges. Well, clearly there is plenty of evidence for criminal charges. My goodness. The investigation marks a major escalation after years of mounting concerns from Republicans in Congress over Singham's financial support for organizations promoting socialist, communist, and anti-American causes, while allegedly maintaining close ties to the Chinese Communist Party. He lives in China, okay? He lives in Shanghai, and he's close to the CCP. Believe me, he is. Singham, the founder of ThoughtWorks, reportedly amassed a fortune after selling the software consulting company for approximately $785 million before relocating to Shanghai, China. Since then, he has become the subject of numerous investigations and congressional inquiries over allegations that he financed a sprawling network of activist groups and media organizations advancing pro-Beijing narratives. He ought to be charged with treason, seditious conspiracy, so many other things as well. Singham has operated as a major funding vehicle for radical leftist causes. In May, far-left Twitch and their streamer Hassan Piker accidentally admitted on air that Singham has been bankrolling, quote, a lot of political movements in the country, a lot of activist groups. Piker was speaking after Treasury and Department of Justice scrutiny hit groups tied to Singham's network, including Cuba's Solidarity Movement, the convoy that delivered aid to the communist regime. Earlier, in September of 2025, House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer and Representative Anna Paulina Luna called on the Treasury Department and Secretary Scott Bessent to immediately freeze all of Singham's assets, warning that this billionaire was using American nonprofits to fund anti-American political movements on behalf of foreign interests. So there you have it. I wanted to report that because, again, this is something that no one's really even been talking about. Now, remember, I did a report on him 2025 when they were doing the Los Angeles riots and all that crazy stuff that was going on then. And I reported on it then, and his name came up in a lot of different things. And not only that, he's also tied in to these candidates. He's tied into Mondani. He's tied into Graham Plattner. He's tied in to Chevalier, this new one. He's tied in to these DSA scumbag tyrants. Okay? Now, I've been saying for the longest time, of course, DSA needs to be obviously designated as a terrorist organization, and that will help because it'll open up the books. But guess what? You're going to find out a lot about the DSA and the other groups, the PSL, which is, I can't think of what it stands for, Socialist Liberation, People's Socialist Liberation, the PSL group, another terrible, terrible group out there. Of course, the Communist Party USA, all the other Soros groups too are probably somehow intertwined with all of this. But you may find out more about the DSA when they open up the books on Singham over here, because Singham is tied to all of it. Okay, I am 100% sure of that statement. Okay, and we will find out all of this stuff. That's why I've been saying for the longest time, if we want to take down these subversive, traitorous, communist organizations that are trying to destroy this country, we got to be smart. We got to put on our suit and ties and our little Coke glasses or whatever, and have people like Scott Bessent take a magnifying glass and look everywhere and find all the money. Put together a giant, 300-400 page indictment and send it right on over to the Department of Justice. Now, I don't know if he did all that. He said at the time, President Trump directed him to do it. So he said at the time that he was doing investigations into these groups. Again, we're impatient. We're all impatient. We want to see results. I get it. I want to see them too. Okay, I get it. But if he started that in the summer of 2025, which I think is when they started doing all the, the ICE riots and all the other stuff that they were doing in Los Angeles, well, it took a lot of time through subpoenas and documents and discovery and all of that stuff. So maybe by this February, March, they already had a real good idea that they could bring charges here, because he's not going to impanel a grand jury just to impanel a grand jury. They're going to do that if they believe that they have evidence enough to convict. And so if you're going to go with straight, lawyer 101 or investigation 101, clearly we should have the amount of documentation needed and the paper trail that will show where this money is coming from. So again, I just want to say, have faith, have patience. We're all impatient. I am so impatient. I want to see these people hanging by the neck so bad. I got no problem saying it. You know that. But it's a process. That's all I can tell you. It's a process. And one more thing. Tina Peters was at the White House today. And by the way, she looked fantastic. She looked healthy, everything else. She was walking around with a little brown briefcase. So just for the hell of it, I went on X and I said, you know what's in that briefcase? The evidence. The evidence. She's delivering the evidence for the 7-state criminal conspiracy that they're going to drop in probably the first quarter of 2027, is what I said. That's what's in that briefcase. And she could become the greatest federal witness, and she could help put all the people in Colorado and everywhere else in jail by testifying against them. But we'll see what happens. We've got a lot of subversives. We've got a lot of people, in Washington that don't want any of these people held accountable so that they can continue to do it. And it's a battle, but it's a battle we're going to continue to fight. And hopefully in the end we will win. Those are my thoughts. What are yours? Put them down in the comments below. We'll see you in the next one.